If you ever see a scarecrow standing in a different spot than where you left it, do not go near it. Do not look into its eyes. And whatever you do, never say hello to it. Because in the small farming town of Millbrook, one family learned this lesson far too late. And what happened to them still makes people lock their doors before sunset. It began on a quiet October evening when 17-year-old Ethan Cole moved into his grandfather's old farmhouse with his parents after his grandfather passed away under strange circumstances that nobody in the family wanted to talk about. The house sat at the edge of a dead cornfield, the stalks brown and broken, rustling even when there was no wind. In the middle of that field stood a scarecrow, tall and thin, wearing a torn brown coat and a wide straw hat that cast a shadow over a face made of stitched burlap. Its arms were nailed to a wooden cross, stretched out wide as if it were waiting to embrace someone. Ethan's mother told him not to worry about the field, that it hadn't been farmed in years, and that the scarecrow was just an old relic his grandfather never bothered to take down. But on the very first night, Ethan woke up at exactly 3 in the morning to the sound of dry corn stalks snapping outside his window, one after another, slow and steady, like footsteps pressing through dead crops. He looked out and saw the scarecrow standing exactly where it always stood, motionless. And he told himself it was just the wind playing tricks on his tired mind. So he went back to sleep. The next morning, he noticed something odd. The scarecrow was facing the house instead of the road, like it had been the day before. But he brushed it off, thinking maybe his father had turned it while cleaning up the yard. That night, the same sound returned, the snapping of stalks, closer this time, and when Ethan looked out his window, his heart nearly stopped because the scarecrow was no longer in the middle of the field. It had moved halfway toward the house, standing crookedly, its burlap head tilted unnaturally to one side as if it were staring directly at his window. He shut the curtains and did not sleep for the rest of that night. In the morning, he tried to tell his parents, but his father laughed it off and said, "Scarecrows do not walk." And his mother simply said, "The wind must have knocked it loose and someone probably propped it back up wrong." But Ethan noticed something his parents did not. Deep, dragging footprints in the dirt, leading from the field straight to the porch steps. Footprints that stopped right at the door as if something had stood there all night, watching, waiting, listening to them breathe inside. That evening, Ethan decided to investigate the field himself before dark, and what he found chilled him to the bone. The scarecrow was back in its original spot, in the middle of the field, but its straw hat was gone, and underneath, for the first time, he saw its face clearly, rotted, sunken, with 2 black hollow eyes that seemed to follow him, even though the head did not move. Stitched crudely across its mouth were the words, "I see you," sewn in what looked disturbingly like dried, rust-colored thread. Terrified, Ethan ran back into the house and locked every door and window, refusing to look outside again. But that night, the sounds were different. This time it wasn't just snapping stalks. It was the slow creak of the porch steps, one after another. The unmistakable sound of something heavy climbing up toward the front door. He heard scratching against the wood, long, slow drags like fingernails made of straw and bone, and then silence. The kind of silence that feels heavier than noise itself. In the morning, Ethan's father discovered deep claw marks across the front door, and this time, even he couldn't explain them away. The family decided enough was enough, and they made a plan to burn the scarecrow that very night. hoping to end whatever twisted horror had taken root in that field. As the sun set, Ethan, his father, and his uncle who had come to help walked toward the field, carrying a gasoline can and matches, their flashlights cutting through the darkening rows of dead corn. When they reached the spot where the Scarecrow always stood, they froze in horror, because it was gone. The wooden cross stood empty, torn scraps of burlap and straw scattered across the dirt, and deep, fresh footprints leading not away from the house, but directly toward it. Panic surged through them and they sprinted back. But as they reached the porch, they saw the front door standing wide open, though they were certain they had locked it. Inside, the house was cold, unnaturally cold, and Ethan's mother, who had stayed behind, was nowhere to be found. They searched every room, calling her name, until they reached the basement door, which was slightly ajar, a thin trail of straw leading down into the darkness below. Ethan's father grabbed a flashlight and descended first, and what they found down there haunted every single one of them for the rest of their lives. Ethan's mother was sitting perfectly still in the corner of the basement, her eyes wide open but completely unresponsive, as if she were in some kind of trance. And standing behind her in the shadows was the Scarecrow itself, no longer just straw and burlap, but somehow larger, its body twisted with limbs bent at wrong angles, its hollow black eyes glowing faintly in the darkness, and its stitched mouth slowly curling upward into something that resembled a smile. It let out no sound, no growl, no scream, only a slow, dragging step forward. And that was enough to send the entire family running back up the stairs in sheer terror, dragging Ethan's mother with them, barely escaping through the front door as the wooden frame of the basement door splintered behind them. They didn't stop running until they reached their car, speeding away from the farmhouse without looking back, abandoning almost everything they owned. Later, when they finally dared to ask around town, an old neighbor revealed a horrifying truth. Decades ago, that same field had been the site of a terrible tragedy involving a farmhand who was wrongly accused of a crime he did not commit. And in their fury, the townspeople tied him to a wooden cross in the middle of the field and left him there to die under the scorching sun. And from that day forward, anyone who dared live on that land eventually vanished or fled in terror, always blaming something they described only as the thing in the field. Ethan's grandfather, it turned out, had known about the curse all along, and some believed his mysterious death was not as natural as everyone assumed, but rather punishment for finally trying to remove the Scarecrow from the field after years of leaving it undisturbed. To this day, the farmhouse stands empty, boarded up, forgotten by everyone except those brave or foolish enough to still whisper its story late at night. Locals say that if you drive past that old dead cornfield after midnight, you can still see a tall, thin figure standing motionless among the stalks. And if you make the mistake of stopping your car, rolling down your window, and staring too long, you might just see its head slowly turn toward you, its hollow eyes locking onto yours. And in that moment, you will understand exactly why nobody who has seen the Scarecrow walk has ever dared to speak its name again. If this story kept you on edge, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more terrifying tales just like this one.